Thanks, guys. So, what's wrong with our health system? And it's just a question I'll put to you straight up, is a lot of you would have family members or yourselves, or you would know somebody in your circle of friends that maybe has had a health issue. And so what I'm going to talk about tonight is not just detoxing, because detoxing can be quite sort of scary and a little bit kind of daunting, I guess, but generally how we can improve our health. And so a lot of you are here at the gym members, yeah? A lot of you here to just get in shape and get generally healthier and sometimes maybe lose a bit of weight or that sort of thing. Any reason that you've come other than that, like health issues or anything like that? General health? That's great. What I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about health problems and what causes health problems. But you will relate this to what you're doing and possibly just your long-term health. The health system, what's wrong with it? It's overloaded. It's bursting at the seams. You might have heard the news last year about nurses going on strike and things like that. You know, they're underpaid, overworked, overstressed, and it's because our health in New Zealand is actually at epidemic levels. There's a massive epidemic in the world. And we've got two options. We've got go to the doctor, get a prescription if you've got a health problem, which is the first port of call most of us think of, or go to a health store. So how many of you guys would go to the doctor or go to the health store? Go to the doctor? Go to the health store? More go to the health store maybe? Actually 75% of New Zealanders do that. They go to the natural health first. And you would think maybe go to the doctor.
How many percent is that?
About 75%. We use natural supplements. We go looking for alternatives. And I think a lot of us have a bit of skepticism about the system and how we're going to be dealt with. But can we trust? And this is the thing, not just the natural medicine side of things, the supplements, the products you find in supermarkets and health stores, can you trust them? Are they reliable? But also the health system itself. And your doctor, for example, is trained in pharmaceutical medicine and they have a specific prescription that they follow, and they're trained to give prescriptions for pharmaceutical drugs. So they don't really know much about nutrition. And your gym personal coach, personal trainer probably knows more about nutrition than your doctor. So it's an amazing thing, the system that we've got. And the media, the news, what you see on the television about health and things like that, you've got to be really, really skeptical about it, because a lot of the time it's just opinion and there's nothing behind it. And if you look and you dig and you look at articles in the newspaper or magazines, you won't find any kind of references to any kind of research or anything like that. So I'm just putting it out there in the beginning. Just think about the big picture, about where we are, what sort of system we've got, and what is actually the biggest problems that we suffer with. We're going to talk about that tonight. And the solutions that we're offered are often complicated, difficult, hard to sort of navigate your way through. And really the answer should be pure and simple. So what I want to share with you tonight is the simplest, what I think is the simplest solution to the most common problems that you'll encounter, not just in your lives, but your family, your friends. And that's the basis of natural medicine, really. It should be really, really pure and simple. So just a little bit about me. I'm a medical herbalist. I've had my own practice now for 20 years. And I've got into this because of my own experiences with the system. I injured my back. I had a skin cancer on my lip when I was 20 years old, and I was rushed in for surgery, and they were going to rush me in for my back as well. 3 vertebrae had to be fused, and I thought that, nah, this is the second time this has happened to me. I'm 25 years old, I'm going to heal myself. And so I still have a bit of back pain occasionally. I go to a chiropractor, I work out, that really helps, and the diet is a major thing. But basically it's healed. And I know a lot of guys that have had back surgery and they're okay, but I've managed to heal myself without it. So I've got a real passion for helping other people find natural means to heal themselves. And up till now I've had about 100,000 people do my detox program, which is just amazing. You know, it's just in a little country like this that people actually get results, they tell their friends, and away it goes. And so I've just sort of covered briefly what we're going to talk about, but mainly what is causing the biggest health epidemics that we're suffering from today. So forgive me if I'm in front of you, I'll try and move around. And what is the cause of these problems, and how can we treat them simply and naturally at home ourselves? So what do you think the biggest epidemic in the world today is? Any ideas? Obesity? Yes, it's pretty close. It's to do with the food we eat, yeah. That's part of it, that's part of it. They're all actually part of the epidemic. Sorry? That's contributing to it as well, yeah. We're all pretty warm, they're all in the same area. You tend to think sometimes a third world disease might be the biggest epidemic. You know, like malaria or cholera or these like infectious diseases in the third world. But in fact, what we suffer from in New Zealand, the US, the UK, Australia, places like that, we have the largest epidemic in the world right on our back door, right here. And it's probably in your own family. Yeah, it's part of it too, yeah. Heart disease, obviously that's the biggest killer. Cancer, stroke, and then you've got respiratory problems here. But you'll see the top ones: cancer, heart disease, stroke. So if you put heart disease and stroke together, that's cardiovascular disease, that's the biggest killer in the world. And then you've got cancer. And these other ones down here, these are lung, the three below that, they're all lung related. A lot of people die of lung diseases. It's amazing. But that's not the biggest epidemic. Those are the things that are killing us. But the biggest epidemic is called metabolic syndrome. Who's heard of that? Yeah? Not so many of us, really. Because it's not really announced. Have you ever heard it on the news? Biggest epidemic in the world, metabolic syndrome. They don't talk about it. And what it is it's a combination of those four things there. So you've got your cholesterol, your blood pressure, your blood sugar, and obesity. Now if you've got two or more of these, you're classified as having metabolic syndrome. Do you know anybody with two or more of those? Yeah, I do. Yeah. In fact, 40% of the world adults. Yeah. So it's a massive epidemic. Sorry, it says quarter of the world's adults there, but in New Zealand, the US, Australia, the UK, it's up to 40%. So that's in the world, but we're suffering from it in our developed society with the food, the fast food, and the things that we have available. So yeah, cholesterol, the most common thing we're medicated for, blood sugar, blood pressure, and weight gain. Obviously we know about that. We've been hearing this on the news. Childhood obesity's risen. It's up 10%, up to 37% in 2017. It's massive. It's out of control, and it's an epidemic. It's going like this. And yet we've been saying go low fat, you know, for 30, 40 years. It's completely failed. So that our children are queuing up for metabolic syndrome, and the problem with metabolic syndrome is it's the biggest epidemic, but what it does is it's a precursor and it leads to heart attack, stroke and cancer, so the biggest killers. And so the shocking fact to me is that not only the biggest things that kill the most of us in the world today are related to this epidemic that is hardly talked about, it's hardly ever mentioned, you'll never hear it on the news. Sometimes they'll say there's diabetes rates are going up, obesity rates are going up. They mention individual things, but they never really put them together into what's actually going on here. And probably one of the best things you could do is come to a gym, actually to get hold of that problem and prevent it. But what does the health system do? They prescribe drugs like they're going out of fashion. They're feeding them out like lollies to kids. And so if anything's slightly wrong with your blood tests, they start giving you a prescription, don't they? It's a standard practice. In fact, they start giving cholesterol drugs now to anybody over the age of 45, regardless. So you don't even have to have high cholesterol, because it's become standard practice just to give statins. And it's a shocking thing.
A statin, what you're saying?
Yes, statins, yeah. It's a recommendation is to just start giving them anyway.
I was told what my doctor said.
Yeah.
He takes it himself just as a child.
Yeah. So, and you know, I'm a skeptic. So, what I'm talking about is really don't trust the system. That's the number one thing, and always ask your doctor to give you the side effects of anything if he ever gives you a prescription, because that'll put you off pretty quickly as well. What they do is they start giving you more drugs because there's a side effect from whatever the first medication was, so they have to give you another one because your kidneys start getting disrupted, or your liver function, or your blood pressure might start going up. So they have to start giving you other things. And before long you've got what's called drug toxicity. And that is a huge killer in the world as well, as drug toxicity and drug poisoning, which I'll get to in a minute as well. So basically we end up with an ambulance, and I don't know how many of you have had family members pass away, but I know I've seen it happen where the prescriptions keep getting piled on and piled on and piled on until the end, and that's the common scenario. And usually it ends with an injection of some kind, Sorry, it's bad news, isn't it? This is a sad story. So what I want to get to is how we can heal ourselves, and that's the good part of it. That's the fun part of it. And like I talked about before, I was able to heal myself, and I've seen thousands of other people heal themselves. So if you're not suffering with a health problem now, that's great. Keep doing what you're doing. But the golden rule of health, the thing to remember is it's all about balance. And it's called homeostasis when you study physiology. It's balance in the body. And I don't know if you've ever looked at natural medicines, but when you get homeopathy, Ayurveda, Chinese medicine, herbal medicine, they all have these balancing the elements, the yin yang, the different parts of the system have to be all in balance and harmony, hot and cold. And so it's all about balance. That's what health is. So if you work out go too hardcore and you don't nourish yourself, you're going to get out of balance, And likewise, if you don't work out at all and you overfeed your body, you're going to get out of balance. So that's what causes metabolic syndrome. There's more to it, which I want to get into. You can feed yourself, you can get fats, proteins and carbs in balance and things like that, and you can work out the right amount, but you can still end up with this problem. So there's other reasons behind it. So metabolic syndrome is really your blood sugar, blood pressure and weight gain. And it's a problem with your metabolism. And so metabolism is a word you would have heard a lot. You probably would think about a lot. And you talk about speeding up your metabolism, and you can have a slow metabolism or fast metabolism. But what it is, your metabolism is actually every single reaction chemically that happens in your body, your entire body. So that means tens of thousands of different little reactions are taking place with all these different chemicals in your body. That's your metabolism. Your metabolic rate is how much heat your body puts out. That's pretty much it. But your metabolism is everything, the whole workings inside your body. And so a toxin can interfere with that. So when you have caffeine, you're interfering with your metabolism. You put it up. You start producing more hormone, serotonin, adrenaline, you start pumping your body up. So what you're doing is you're interfering with your metabolism, right? And over time that can become toxic if you continually use that same substance. So how many other things can do that? Just thinking in your mind, how many other things might there be? The list is endless. And what I wanted to do is quickly go through a little list of those things that can be toxins to your metabolism. So there's a short list there. Food, drugs, environmental, stress. Stress is the big one, eh? Who's not stressed? Everybody's stressed though, everybody. So you combine that with these other things. So with food, actually food, the worst thing with food is that when we are stressed, which we are a lot of the time, we choose the wrong things. So addiction is a classic example. The foods they put in the supermarket shelves are designed to get you addicted. The whole idea of a packaged food is to get you addicted. They spend millions, they have test subjects, and they find out till the people are actually saying, this is giving me a hit. So once they get that hit, it might be the Cocoa Pops, it might be the noodles, but whatever it is, they've designed it to give you a hit and get you hooked and get you addicted. So there's your number one toxin right there, is processed food. And the packaging, the processing, the additives, the flavouring, the colouring, all the little things they put in there is doctored completely to hook you like a drug. So this is my scare tactics. And you know what it is. You know what it is whatever it is, it's okay to have something. You know, you can't punish yourself and say I'm going on a detox for the rest of my life. But it's a good experience to do it for a short time, just to see how different you feel. And we talk about going to rehab for alcohol, don't we? Drugs. But we never talk about food rehab. Have you heard the term food rehab? You don't know. Yeah, but who's heard the term sugar addiction? You must have. Yeah. So sugar. That's like cocaine, that stuff. That's like taking a white powder and extracting it from coca leaves. It really is. It's a powerful drug. Heroin would be another example. You don't think maybe sugar is as powerful. Well, it is. You try stopping it completely if you're really, really hooked on sugar. You'll climb the walls. You know, it's a really powerful drug. And so they know there's a certain amount of it when they get it in the food that's got you hooked. Funny thing is, flour is the same. Flour is like one step away from sugar. It's that close. So wheat products, pasta, rice, pastry, cakes, breads, you know, all those sort of things. Really addictive. And another one that's a big bad one in New Zealand is red meat. You know, we all love the barbecues and stuff. We know it causes colon cancer, and we've got the highest rate in the world. They know it's directly related to red meat. So, and yet a lot of Kiwi guys it's impossible. They can't do without. They think they're going to die without their meat, you know. But it's not true. They might actually live 10 years longer. That's the number they put on it. You'll live 10 years longer without red meat. The other thing we get is bone and joint pain. So this is related to acid. So if you're having meats, a lot of meats, sugars, processed food, alcohol, coffee, you know, particularly red meat, cheese, all acid forming food, then you start getting bone and joint pain, muscle pain, aches and pains, headaches all the time, and that's acid. So that's another massive toxin that accumulates in your body, accumulates in the tissues. And then we've got all the sprays they put on the food. So the produce, they tested like 8 out of 10 fruit and vegetables in the supermarket has pesticides and spray on them, and they say, the health authorities say it's okay, there's a level that's okay, but when you add it all together with everything else, you know, your body starts to struggle with it all, and you get these signs. So you might relate to some of these, or you might have had some of these. Most of these things are related to acid, inflammation in the gut, and the things we talked about. It's just the simple things, you know, it's not complicated, eh? There's just those few simple things, the processed food, the sugar, the gluten, the red meat, those things can cause all of these problems. Because the inflammation and the acid just irritates the gut to such a degree that you get problems with the immune system. And there's your even worse problems like Crohn's disease and things like that. And then what happens is the most common issue in the world is actually acid reflux. That's the most commonly prescribed prescription, is acid reflux and heartburn, indigestion. We start prescribing the drugs for those gut problems. Interesting fact here, and you've probably seen these guys here, but there's others recently like Prince and Tom Petty and those guys that have died from their prescription. They've died from what's been prescribed to them by their doctor. And there's 328,000 a year just in the USA and Europe that die from prescription. So we only hear about the big stars that do it, but there's hundreds of thousands of people that die that way. And yeah, there's corruption a little bit behind some of those things not being told to the public. And that's because the drugs destroy the liver and kidney function, and that's what causes most people to die from them. So we're going to look at the options, and before we do, what I'm talking about here is detoxing, and so the reason I'm being negative and scary is because until you actually think about these things, you often just think, well, I feel the way I feel because that's just life, you know. It's hard, it's stressful, I'm tired, I'm in pain, and as you get older it gets worse and worse, and you just think that's life, it's the way it is. And yet you must have met people that are in their 70s that are bouncing around happy, pain-free, and what's their secret, you know. Pollution is another big one. We know that people that live around polluted areas get these problems, but an interesting connection here is the heart disease, stroke and lung problems are the same as the list of biggest killers. So pollution's got to be, you know, a big factor in that. And then we've got our water. We know our water's getting worse. We know our water in New Zealand's getting worse. We chlorinate, fluoridate. We have bores that have heavy metals in them. So getting filtered water or, you know, really good quality spring water is really important. And then we've got to treat ourselves for parasites. So if you've got cats, dogs or children, always put children in there with cats and dogs because they bring parasites into your house on their feet. Because mostly worms are in the dirt and in the ground, and they get brought into your house and then we breathe in. So doing a parasite treatment on yourself, just like you would for your cat, is a really good idea every year. And there's the heavy metals that come in our water, and sometimes if you're around construction and building sites and things. And so the reason I go through all of this is because it's in the book that comes with the program, gives you all the background, all the research, and it's just a real eye-opener when you think about what your body's got to deal with. There's mercury, and a lot of us still have some of that in fillings that were put in when we were kids. And then we've got our household chemicals. So you've got to include on this list things like shampoo, you know, makeups, deodorants, skin lotions and other things that have lots of chemicals in them because they get absorbed into your body as well. But the household cleaners are carcinogenic, a lot of the sprays and weed killers and stuff like that. And there's the signs of those problems are usually related to your ear, nose, throat, lungs, like your sinus, hay fever, asthma, you know, lung congestion and all that sort of thing. So yeah, if you're getting those symptoms, then it's environmental. And this is just a quick summary list of a lot of the things we talked about from the American Cancer Research Institute, and these are known identifiable causes of cancer in the world. A lot of those things are on the list we talked about. So there's some you can't really do much about, like your genetics, maybe your job. Amazing, isn't it? But weight and obesity is up there as the second most common cause of cancer. Incredible. So there's the big list, and that's in your little book in the middle there. And it's really just there for, you might look on the internet and go detox, cleanse and scam, and they say it's a scam. If you search on Google, there's a lot of the credible medical authorities around the world are saying detoxing is a waste of time, waste of money, and there's no point doing it, you don't need it. And that really gets me, because I know that it works, and I know everybody that's done it has seen massive changes in their health, and yet the system actually says it's a complete waste of time. So now you know. What we start with when we're a fetus inside the womb is this little tube that goes in the umbilical cord, and it feeds the digestive system. So that's all your digestive system there when you're a tiny little fetus. And then it grows into the full digestive system. And that's your primary organ for processing what goes in your body and eliminating the waste. And these are some of the problems that we get. Acid reflux, irritable bowel, bowel cancer. These are the most common things that they don't know the cause of. So the medical system doesn't know what causes these problems. You have to look it up. They're prescribing drugs for it because they, try and combat it, but they don't know what actually causes it. It's amazing. It surprises me. And then there's the liver, and we've got fatty liver disease, hepatitis, and cirrhosis, which we know alcohol causes that. But massive numbers of people dying of these problems. And that liver is the one that does your main detoxification of chemicals. And then your kidneys, kidney failures, kidney stones and gout, and these are dietary. So we know that diets. So in other words, the detoxification systems, there's your lungs there as well, asthma, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, not dealing with the problem. So your bowels, your liver, your kidneys, your lungs, unable to cope, unable to deal with these issues. And that's why we need a cleanse. Who's heard of the frog boiling thing? Yeah. It's a really interesting analogy for what happens to us. And you'll see it with people that drink excessively their entire lives. They slowly pickle of themselves, and they look like they're an old pickle by the time they get old. It's like a slow boiling frog. So what happens with a frog is when you put it in a cold pot and you put the pot on and it warms up slowly and boils, is the frog won't jump out. The frog will just let itself get boiled because the water's warming up slowly. But obviously if you throw a frog into a pot of boiling water, it's going to jump straight away. And that's an analogy for what our lives are like. We slowly get pickled by the poison. And if we don't cleanse ourselves, we think it's okay, and then one day the pot's boiling. Does that make sense? Because you have an amazing power. Your body has this amazing power to adapt and adjust and and cope with a huge amount of stress and all the wrong things until it's too late. The shocking thing to me is, why aren't we being told? Why is the health system designed to poison us further? Drugs won't help. Drugs are not going to help cure a problem that's caused by toxicity. It seems counterintuitive, doesn't it? So you've got a problem that's caused by an overload of toxins. Here's some more poisonous substance. That will fix it. So basically, I can't understand why they do it. I can't understand why they don't tell us we should, go on a cleanse. Your doctor will never say that. In fact, they'll say it's a waste of time. Your nutritionist, your personal trainer will probably have more idea and tell you what to do. And that leads to the biggest causes of death. So the only thing we can really do about it is to take control for ourselves, to be an example to maybe a friend or a family member that's having some real health problems, and let them see how healthy we become, or how our health improves, and be an example to them. Because you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink, can you? And I've seen that too. You can't tell somebody else, you've just got to show them. And so I want to just quickly, in the last couple of minutes, go through what's in the program and how it works. And it's really the most simple thing in the world, and that's the beauty of it. It's so simple and so easy once you get the idea that there's no turning back. And it's really simple. The term is detox, and it's the oldest practice in the world. It dates back to Egyptian times, and basically we're just flushing our body. So you've probably heard of things like sweat lodges, and obviously saunas and spas go back to ancient Rome, and even in Egyptian times they were using enemas. They were using sheep stomachs and things like that to do enemas. And so detoxing is an ancient practice. And all we do is we put everything in the body that's pure and clean, cleanse the colon, the liver, the digestive system, because that's the first port of call. Cleanse parasites, the enzymes in raw food diet, so it's high in fibre, super nutritious. Number one thing is going plant-based. So getting off meat, getting off processed food, and going plant-based. So this is not 100%, this is not long-term, this is just for a couple of weeks. So like you would take your car in and you get a service and you get it all changed and up to speed, the same thing with your body. A couple of weeks is like a full service for your body. That's what your body needs to go into healing mode and really make a change. And if possible, get some organic food. Organic food has up to 10 times the phytonutrients or the plant nutrients, so the antioxidants, than commercially grown produce. And you'll know that. You've seen oranges and things in the supermarket and pineapples and stuff that's grown commercially. It's nothing like that should be. And look out for these fad diets, the paleo, the Atkins, calorie counting, blood type diets and things. They're fads. And there's something in them. There's something in all of these things. There's some good ideas, but it's really sticking with something that is long-term, sustainable, and really getting back to a plant-based diet is the simplest thing. But these green smoothies, this is a big part of our detox program, is green smoothies. So kale, spinach, you can have this on your cleanse, and it's a really perfect combination. Put in citrus like lemon or orange. I got a high-speed blender, put in the whole thing with the whole skin on and everything. It's just amazing. The skin on the lemons and oranges is power packed with the steroidal component, boosts up your energy. Spinach has got a steroidal component for muscle growth, so that they're really good for building strength. There's turmeric and lemon, carrot, smoothies. So this is detox diet. Vegetable stir fries, you just can't go wrong with vegetables. Curries, stir fries, make coconut curries. I recommend coconut oil, coconut cream, coconut milk. It's a really good fat, no cholesterol in it.
What would a normal breakfast be for you?
When you're on the cleanse, would be a smoothie, pretty much every day. Yeah, you can have fruit, make a fruit salad or something like that, but generally a smoothie, a berry smoothie, a green smoothie. Those are the two favourites. So yeah, salads galore. You just mix up fruit and vegetables. At this time of year, it's amazing. Avocados and cucumbers and tomatoes and just anything fresh, really. And you can have cream. So we suggest fruit salad, bit of cream or coconut. You can whip up coconut cream. That's amazing. Yeah. And you can have a bit of dried fruit while you're on it, so some raisins or dates and figs and things like that. So while you're cleansing, so long as it's a whole food, really, fruit or vegetable, it's okay. The only things we avoid are the simple starches, so your potato, bananas, and we don't have rice, so the simple starches are out, because they just tend to slow things down a little bit, and what we want is your body to cleanse. So the idea with the herbs that come in the detox pack is to cleanse internally. And there's 480 capsules, you do it 14 days, and there's 4 parts to the program, which I'll go through quickly. A colon cleanse, and the herbs in there get your colon moving so that your colon cleanses out, and they also knock back parasites and yeast and candida and bad bacteria and all those things and get it all under control. And then there's a digestive product which is for soothing digestion and calming the gut. So while your body's cleansing, everything's rushing through and getting cleaned out, it's comfortable and you don't get pain and cramps or anything like that. That's what that's for. And then there's the liver one. That really gets your liver functioning better. So that helps clear the fatty liver, the cholesterol, reduces the cholesterol, and helps body process any chemicals that are in the system. And then last one is the bulking fibre. And that's again just to help the bowel cleanse. And we call it a multifunction tool because this is the list of things. And it's an incredible list of health problems that can be resolved by cleansing. And it seems amazing. But there's a link, and the link is the inflammation, the acidity, and the irritation that happens inside the body, and the congestion. So all of these things here are related. And you'll see a link when you look at that list. Huge amount of digestive issues. And then there's the metabolic problems. So basically by resolving these things and preventing them, we just need to do a cleanse once a year. Just like you take your car in for a service. Just do it once a year and you get that long mileage. And that's the idea really. Because we all do it, we all gradually, they say we put on 1 kilo per year over the age of 30 on average. That's the average person. So from 30 to 40, most people will put on 10 kilos. 40 to 50, another 10 kilos. 60 to 70, another 10. That's the average. And the average lifespan is 72, I think. So, something happens there. And we've noticed that with our lists that it's the younger people that are starting to do our product and do our program now, which is great. and they're coming back each year and doing it again. So hopefully that turns the tide. Because it's not necessarily about living till you're 120, but it's like living as long as you can, as healthy as you can. Isn't it? That's being around with your family and your friends.